association, we are truly at a turning point in the association, and that is because of General Newton and General McKinley. And the reason is this: the Air Force Association has been led by civilians, for the most part, as a nonprofit organization. And recently, having a 3-star general and a 4-star general heading our Air Force Association from the top, it brings a marriage and a power and a cloud to the association to such a degree that enables us to work better with the Air Force, and we are excited to see this happen. So you are in the midst, watching it, and we get to hear from General Newton tonight. And like I said, it was fun coming down here. He came from a military family. His father graduated from West Point in 1950. I just learned that. I didn't even know that. It's so fantastic to hear. And of course, his dad made the right move, like all of you sitting here tonight, and he went Air Force. So, and he coached his son right. Wouldn't you agree? So, you know, I'm gonna turn you to the program. There is a bio here and some information to General Newton, but I wanted to bring out a couple of things outside of his spectacular career and just retiring as a 3-star general last year. Now, Executive Vice President of the Air Force Association, number 2, and he is familiar with this area, Minnesota, having been commander of the 28th Ops Group at Ellsworth in South Dakota and commander of the 5th Bomb Wing at Minot Air Force Base in North Dakota. So we're very proud to have him here in Minneapolis, Dakota's best neighbor, right? You know, but like I mentioned, Air Force family, born at Forbes Air Force Base in Kansas, fellow Air Force Academy graduate, 1978. He has over 2,900 flying hours in B-2s, B-1Bs, B-52, T-38 aircraft. Spent 17, correct me if I'm wrong here, of his 34 active duty years in Washington, D.C. Is that right? That's pretty significant. So you can tell where his focus and energies have been. And what's interesting is 1995 to 2012, that was D.C., with the exception of the Dakotas, 1998 to 2001. So an amazing career. Honored to have him here tonight, General Newton.
John did have to mention the Washington, D.C. time, and so Jody and I were trying to move back to Florida at some point in our transition, and I got a phone call that said, how would we like to come back to Washington, D.C. to serve as Executive Vice President of the Air Force Association? I said, well, let me think about it. Okay, sounds good. We get an apartment that is literally a quarter mile away from the Pentagon. So my wife Jody says, let me get this straight, honey. We're now leaving the Air Force, but we're actually coming back. And so here we are. But it really is an honor and a privilege to be here, and I really do thank you for the opportunity to be here. Our speechwriters have prepared some really excellent remarks. You won't get to hear those tonight. And so we probably didn't want to have a speech read by some guy in Washington, D.C., but truly it's a pleasure to be here. I send greetings from our boss, our president, Craig McKinley, who I've known for going on 35 years. He and I are very close friends. We flew jets together in Del Rio, Texas, and here we find ourselves in our next life after the United States Air Force, both serving at the Air Force Association. And so, again, Mrs. Larson, it's just really wonderful to see you. We were neighbors, I think, at some point. My mom and dad served up at Offutt Air Force Base at the headquarters of Strategic Air Command. The Larsons were a couple quarters down. We lived up on what we call General's Row, and those are great memories. And so, let me thank you for your service, and certainly accompanying your husband through a myriad of assignments, but also certainly keeping his namesake alive. And our son's here tonight too. It's just very special. Many of you probably did not get the honor or the privilege to know General Larson or really know the impact that he had on the United States Air Force. Not only when he served on active duty through 3 or 4 decades, but really how it lives today and moves on in the future. Someone who definitely put his stamp on the United States Air Force. and specifically within the realm of intelligence in the United States Air Force. And so it's good to see. General Nash, where are you? Why is it snowing right now?
It's not the weather guy.
You are the Adjutant General of the state of Minnesota. I thought you had certain powers. I leave my hotel room. It's about 42, 43 degrees. I go across some bridge. I think it's the Mississippi. I'm in Minneapolis right now, or St. Paul. Where? I know I'm outside of Washington. That's good. And this white stuff starts coming down. I said, you know, Dick, it's like the first week of April. Where are you? Well, I'm in Minnesota. So it's good to see you. And again, good to have the team here as well. Ladies and gentlemen, like I said, it's really thank you all for being here. And first, let me also say congratulations to our award winners from the Civil Air Patrol and Junior ROTC and our ROTC detachments, and certainly the men and women who serve in the 133rd and 934th. It's just really terrific to have you all here, as well as the loved ones and the family members and those who really support our men and women in uniform and our civilians as well. So it's great to be here. This is a little bit of a repeat for me. I spoke at this banquet in 1995, I recall. I think it was definitely snowing then, gentlemen. But I think it was in January, February, but I was commanding the 1st B-2 Squadron, and so I had an opportunity to get around and speak quite a bit to talk about the stealth mission and so forth, and I was invited to come here and be the awards banquet speaker on a Friday night, and they said, hey, you might as well stay over and we'll do the ROTC detachment at the University of Minnesota. So I got to be the dining out speaker there, and then I left on Sunday. But so you're stuck with Newton again for a second time. But that's good. I think I would just soon be here than anywhere else, by the way, looking at these great, terrific men and women. Can I ask, just as an odd question, I guess, how many of you all in uniform tonight with us have been deployed? Wow. Look at that. A lot of men and women who serve the United States. You know, perhaps several years ago when my dad and General Larson were serving together there at Offutt Air Force Base, I think if you would ask how many of you all have been deployed and so forth, many have been on some long temporary duties, perhaps. Some had perhaps served in Vietnam. But I would venture to say that most of those men and women who raised their hands were probably active duty. And tonight we're in a room full of great Americans who happen to be wearing the Air Force blue, and I couldn't tell apart if you're active duty guard and reserve. But I surmise that most of you are probably from the reserve guard component who have deployed. And we were just talking about this just a few minutes or so ago, is that you go to places like Kandahar or Baghdad or just north of Kabul, Afghanistan or so forth, and I had the distinct honor and privilege as I went in and out of the theater in Iraq and Afghanistan, I would be shuttled from place to place, usually in a C-130. I'd get out of my security bubble, I'd get on the airplane, we'd take off and go to the next place. And by and large, it was either reserve or guard C-130. And I would ask it just by chance and say, okay, sir, we're out of Louisville, Kentucky, or we're out of, wherever the case may be. So it just shows you that really, as we talked about, the sun really never sets or shines, on the guard or reserve or the active force for that matter, because we are a global force. Not only are we doing great things here in the state of Minnesota, but we're also a global force, and that's very important I want all Americans to know that. How many of y'all were forced to be in uniform here tonight? Well, one did, probably your folks made you come in. But Sergeant, the point of my question was, how many of y'all volunteers? All of you, you bet. You bet. There's no one putting a gun over our head. There's no one demanding because of some certain religious code or some certain particular government that happens to be in power is forcing us to serve, and that's really why we're here. A couple things I want to talk about briefly. I want to talk about first why we need a United States Air Force. I think that's a very pertinent question for all of us to ask, particularly in today's, our budgetary climate, certainly from Washington, D.C.'s perspective. And then a second question I want to pose to all of us is, why do we need an Air Force Association? What was General Doolittle thinking back in 1946? And so from an Air Force perspective, if you think about when our first year was actually 1947. Why did we need a United States Air Force back in 1947? Well, there's a couple main points. Number one, the advent of nuclear weapons. We needed airmen who had a global strategic view, and that's going to be a constant theme in my remarks anyway. A certain perspective with these special weapons, which started out as atomic weapons and became nuclear weapons. You need someone who would be able to organize, train, and equip, but also deploy and employ those weapons if called upon to do so. The second aspect of that was strategic bombardment. The capability to create globally effects around the world. In a bomber pilot's terminology, we can kill targets anywhere you want us to. And that was what came truly out of World War II. The third reason, and one that's certainly near and dear to my heart as well, is it was the air-mindedness of airmen who came out of World War II. It's the Spotts, the LeMays, the Doolittles, the Arnolds, the Vandenbergs. Those who came out of World War II, we needed commanders. We needed, in that time, men. And today, men and women, frankly, are commanding at the 4-star rank in the United States Air Force. But back then, we needed men who could command at the theater commander level. We were proven. And so the nation needed air leaders. And that was a key ingredient to why we needed to establish the United States Air Force. Today, why do we need a United States Air Force? Well, certainly back then in 1947, it was air-centric. But now we're a force that is focused on air, space, and now cyberspace. In order for us to be able to, what I would call, create effects in the battle space, we have a full range of capabilities, from the lowest end spectrum of small-scale contingencies, small-scale operations, either here in the United States, frankly, Operation Noble Eagle, thank you, Guard Reserve, by the way, since you've been flying Air Combat Protected Stories 24/7, 365 since about 8:25 in the morning on September 11, 2011, all the way to still today 150 intercontinental ballistic missiles at Minot Air Force Base where I used to command are still sitting alert to deter any aggressor we may have, and everything in between. We do extraordinary things in air and space and cyber. We do it with a total force of about 670,000 men and women, our active duty, our guard, our reserve, and our civilians, and over 1 million members of their family members and loved ones as well. And they do it exquisitely. In fact, we almost do it too well. It looks so easy. You know, the American people don't see the high operations tempo of our guard and reserve and our active force. They don't see the long hours of the days and so forth, and I'm not, trying to bemoan anybody for not having that perspective. It's just something we need to continue to tell the American people, and hopefully they'll appreciate it. What we do in the United States Air Force, we do it on a global scale. We do such things as global reach with our airlift. We do global power with our long-range strike bombers. We do global vigilance, where we have that unblinking eye of intelligence and surveillance and reconnaissance. And particularly in that global vigilance realm, we do that from certainly air, but also from space and cyberspace. And it's exciting for us to do that. Think in terms of the global reach mission. The vignette I was flying out of, we were just north of Iraq, or just north of Baghdad, right just in Iraq. It's about 4:30 in the morning, and we landed at an air base just north of there. It's a C-17 Globemaster II. Wonderful aircraft. And we're trying to get back to Landstuhl, Germany, because we got 26 wounded on board the aircraft. It's a Mississippi Guard C-17 flown by Mississippi Air Guard crew. The loadmasters on board the aircraft are active duty loadmasters. The medical team, it looks like, as I recalled with a couple of you earlier this evening, it looked like any major U.S. city emergency room on a Friday night at 2 o'clock in the morning. They were led by an Air Force Reserve medic contingent. And they were doing their damnedest to make sure that we're going to get those 26 wounded home. And the wounded we were talking about weren't just, just one particular service. Again, it was Army, Marines, Navy. We had some airmen wounded. And so they were doing everything they can to make sure, but on board that airplane, that's where total force is happening. you couldn't tell the difference between if they were active guard or reserve. In fact, it didn't even matter. In fact, I don't even think it really, from the time they were turning their wheels up, it didn't even dwell on anybody on board that aircraft. They just wanted to get those wounded home safe and sound as best they can back to their loved ones. And that's what they did. And they do that every day. That's the challenge we've got in the United States Air Force, is we make the difficult look very easy. Global vigilance. Intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance. Again, this sense of our air-mindedness, our global view. We have a variety of customers in business line. We've got our Army company commanders on the ground right now, or special operators just outside of Kandahar, Afghanistan, or our Marine lieutenant going into a dark room right now. And they're going into that dark room having to do whatever they need to do, but they know they've got the United States Air Force absolutely behind them. Certainly they've got A-10s or F-16s ready to fly close air support, or remotely piloted aircraft being operated by an airman from just outside of Las Vegas, Nevada. But they've also got the intelligence, the surveillance, reconnaissance, the weather, all that are making sure that someone's got their six. And who's got their six is the United States Air Force. All the way up to the President of the United States. Again, remember that spectrum of warfare we talked about? From very, very small scale to very senior? Think of that in terms of global vigilance, in terms of what we do, that unblinking eye, for a variety of customers. From that lieutenant to make sure he is going, or she is going to be able to get home safe after a mission tonight in Kandahar, Afghanistan, or the President of the United States. Making sure he's got the latest read on what's going on with North Korea. So he can act if called upon. And of course, global power. Speaking of North Korea, what was flying along the DMZ just a couple days or so ago? You had a B-52 from some base, North Dakota. Where's Jim? It's called Minot, isn't it? You bet. Flying out of Guam, or you can fly out of Minot and do round robins. It's going to take you 40 hours, but still. And you're going to do it. But if you want to send a message, if you can send a message to that guy, you're going to do it with long-range air. You're going to do it with B-2 stealth bombers. Yeah, you're going to have Navy carriers sitting there. Maybe if you can get them to steam there. And I love the Navy, I love the Army, I love the Marines. This is talking Air Force tonight. 1-800, who are you going to call? United States Air Force. That was true back in 1947. It's true today. It's going to be true tomorrow. But it certainly takes a total team to do that. Let's switch gears a little bit. Why do we need an Air Force Association? Newton, why are we going to leave Florida and that other job you're going to maybe get defense industry or wherever you're going to go, to come back, and why do you want to go to the Air Force Association? Well, our Air Force needs us. Our airmen and their families need us. It's vital that we make sure that the American people certainly understand and that we're also able to tell the story. But what General Doolittle had crafted in his mind when his team came back from World War II, it's a quote, he said, "We need something to keep the gang together." And keeping the gang together was to have an Air Force Association so none of our airmen will fall through the gaps. None of their family members will fall through the gaps. And the fact that we will always continue to be an aerospace nation. Since Craig and I have been serving at the Air Force Association, it's truly an honor. We've done a couple things to the Air Force Association, particularly the staff. We've really refocused the staff to focus on the field. It's all about the field. We got three priorities. The field, and the field. Why? Because if you go back to first principles of the Air Force Association, it was to take the Air Force, again, have it supported by grassroots America. And that's where it's so important that the Rawlings chapters and other chapters are able to make sure that the American people understand the sacrifices of those airmen and their families. Those airmen were flying those combat sorties over the skies of Germany in 1943 and 44, where you perhaps had a 50% chance of not coming home that day. Or the fact that our Vietnam veterans maybe didn't quite get that hug and that handshake coming back when they landed in San Francisco and then they went home. It's to make sure that their sacrifices and their service as Vietnam vets is understood. And today, to make sure that our airmen have the right tools and the resources so that they can fight completely different type conflicts and battles either part of the joint force, or if we need to unilaterally go kick some butt over in North Korea, we can do that as well. I'm retired now, I can say stuff like that. But the cake we had over there, it's the first time I've ever seen a cake made out of the Air Force Memorial. I kind of like that. I'm going to take that back home. Not the cake, but the idea. I'll take the cake with me too. But the idea of the Air Force Memorial, it goes back to the heritage of who we are and where we came from, to make sure that the sacrifices of those who've gone before, who've bled as either wounded or killed in action, who've bled red for this nation, is never forgotten. Particularly our airmen is never forgotten. And the fact that their role, their responsibilities that they put forth. But truly, the Air Force Association, our role is to make sure that we truly focus on our people, as well as making sure our airmen, our active guard and reserve, and our civilians have the tools and resources they need to make sure that we win the next major conflict or small conflict 99-0. I don't want to win this thing in the fourth quarter in overtime, or have to go to overtime and kick a field goal. What American airmen do is we win big, and we've got to be consistent, but we've got to have the tools and the resources to do that. Therefore, the Air Force Association has to be focused on, yes, the field, but also has to have a DC perspective to make sure that the media, our members of Congress, know that we support the leadership of the United States Air Force to make sure that we will back them up every stretch of the way, so that they've got the tools and resources for the next generation to fight and win our nation's wars. We have three main roles. Our job is to educate, certainly educate the American people, why we need a strong Air Force, what tools they need, be it the F-35, the next generation stealth fighter, be it to make sure that we get the KC-46A tanker on our ramps. Certainly that out there in the 2025 time is the long-range strike bomber to replace what is going to be turning out to be legacy B-52s. By the way, the first time a B-52 flew was in 1952. Aircraft we have at the ramp at Minot right now are born in 1960 and 61. If my math tells me that's over 50 years. Can you imagine that? I don't know if Fred Boeing had that figured out back then, but it's certainly true. So we educate. We also advocate for us to be an aerospace nation. Again, along that continued line of warfare. And by the way, for all of you in uniform, it doesn't matter what you do. I'm a bomber pilot, you're a fighter pilot, she's a loggy, he's an enlisted security forces member, civil engineer. It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, we're all getting the job done together on a team. And at the end of the day, we all win as a team. We don't win as individuals. So we educate, we advocate for the tools our men and women need, so again, we continue to live through another conflict, but we do it in 99-0. I don't want to have to go up to an airman's family and say, I'm sorry, we lost your husband, or we lost your daughter, we lost your wife, because you just didn't have the quality capabilities that night. So we educate, we advocate, we also support. Support comes in many ways. And this is again where Craig and I are striving to transform that wonderful staff at AFA over in 1501 Lee Highway, where we support whatever our men and women need, and certainly what the leadership of the Air Force needs. We've just onboarded Mrs. Paula Roy. She was the wife of the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, Jim Roy, who just retired as our Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force. She is now in charge of Airmen and Family Programs. We've never done that before at AFA. We're venturing into the Airmen and Family Programs by design. Why? Because we are back in the people business. That's so vitally important, particularly in today's sequestration and budget environment, that's going to compel the leadership of the Air Force to have to make some trades. And many of those trades are going to have to occur along the lines of things that we've traditionally been supportive of, particularly quality of life. But come 15 April, the leadership of the United States Air Force is going to have to ground 9 fighter squadrons and 2 bomber squadrons. They're not going to be able to fly because the fact that we're running out of funds for the remainder year of fiscal year 13. That's pretty dire, isn't it? Yes, it is. That's called tiered readiness. That was the most foreign term we ever would ever envision. That was the thing we were trying to avoid. But now the current crop of the leadership of the United States Air Force hasn't any choices because of sequestration and some of the budget challenges we're facing right now. So the balance is going to have to be over capabilities, hardware such as F-35, KC-46, C-130Js, all those capabilities out there that are near and dear to our heart. And I haven't even mentioned space capabilities and some of the cyber equipment we've got coming on board. Over the people side of it. What we don't also want to do is tell the American people, well, you know what? Sorry we lost the war, but we really took good care of our people. It's kind of hard to say in a public environment, but that's now some of the harsh choices. But where is it that your Air Force Association now comes in? Where is it that we can perhaps fill in the gap? Maybe we now put together, we now have established a Wounded Airmen program. So as our Wounded Airmen, they've given so much and their family members have given so much, so when they come back to their community, however their transition goes, however their transition of care between the Veterans Administration and their former medical care in the Air Force, however that is handled, the Air Force Association is going to make sure that nobody falls in the gap. So, that's your Air Force Association. Where do you come in closing? First off, if there's anybody here that wants to become a member of the Air Force Association, I'll be here all night filling out this registration form. Seriously. I say that because I want to somehow compel you to think about the opportunity that you now have to now where we need your support, wherever you can provide that, time and resources, in order to make sure that truly we are able to educate and advocate and support for our men and women who are still 24/7, 365 deployed somewhere around the world. Active Guard, Reserve, and actually we've got about 200 civilians deployed around the world right now. So this is where you come in. Get informed. Get busy. I know we've all got busy lives. Tell me about it. With my wife, we just discovered Nordstrom's and 2 daughters. The National Bank of Dad, I know what busy means. But I say this because this is a time when our nation needs us. I'm not calling it a crisis, it's not. I don't know what's going to happen over in Asia Pacific right now for the moment. But there's something out there that I think we're going to have to continue to roll up our sleeves. In a post-World War, or post-world, when Operation Enduring Freedom and operations in Afghanistan begin to wind down in 2014, and perhaps as we shift our focus over to Asia Pacific, it's still going to be 1-800 United States Air Force globally. By the way, when we start coming home in Afghanistan, what's going to be left back there? 1-800 Guard, 1-800 Reserve, 1-800 Active. Not only in the Central Command region in the Mideast, but also in Africa, Horn of Africa. But we're also going to have to be other places as well. So be informed, get active, and let your elected representatives know why we need an Air Force, why we need support. That's my message. Well, in closing, again, well, it's great to be with you all tonight. I'm just looking, and let me also say that to the awardees, growing up as an Air Force kid and going to the Air Force Academy and being honored to be serving as the Assistant Vice Chief of the Air Force, you know, as I reflect back, and when I have an opportunity to come speak at a award banquet such as this, I don't recall, frankly, winning many awards, if any at all, certainly what you all have done. And my message there is, thankfully, I didn't have to compete against these youngsters that I'm looking at right now. Ladies and gentlemen, we have got the best and brightest. I think this generation provides that us as a nation, I don't think we've ever seen it before. And so as now a guy on the retired side of the Air Force ranks, I feel good. Every one of you should walk out of this room feeling good, particularly about your loved ones here who are serving or contemplating serving, those who are perhaps in Civil Air Patrol and Junior ROTC and ROTC. Feel good about it. Feel proud about it. And that's really the message. Let's go tell people about it. Fair enough? All right. Thanks for your service. And thanks for this chapter carrying the flame of the United States Air Force here in the great state of Minnesota. God bless you all. Thank you.
General, thanks so much, and I'm going to call you right back up here. So come on back up. And Vic, actually, if you two can come up here, I'm just going to set a little, for the awardees tonight, you can just pass right on through. We're going to have, are you going to be Catherine Mon, and it's going to be handing the award to you, Vic. Okay. So, I think we're pretty familiar with the procedure, but before we do that, I just want to say, General, come on over here. This is something that we do for our speakers here. This is just a little memento from the local chapter to say thanks for coming out here. We're going to load it with the photos of tonight.
Most of the photos. Stop doing that. She's been following me around since I got out of the car.
So, sir, thanks. Appreciate that. Okay, so getting on with the event for the evening. I'm going to get right into it, and I am going to read pretty quickly, so please pay attention. I don't want to have you fall asleep. I'm very proud to be reading these awards and had some great conversations at my table tonight. Very proud moms and dads, and that was pretty exciting to see. So, just to begin, we'll start with the Civil Air Patrol. From the Crow Wing Composite Squadron, Cadet Captain Carolyn J. Carlson. Please come on up. Captain Carlson's exceptional planning, preparation, and involvement in the aerospace education of the Crow Wing Composite Squadron has had significant impact on other cadets and validate her efforts and this award. Her education, mentorship, support, and knowledge in aerospace aviation fields has enabled many senior members in the squadron to obtain their Jaeger Awards. She has planned field trips to the Richard I. Bong Museum, Planetarium, invited RC Aircraft Club and fire extinguishing inspector demonstrations, and is a cadet mentor and leader at Aiken Airport Aviation Career Day. A truly exceptional mentor and leader. Cadet Captain Carolyn J. Carlson. From the Minnesota Wing, Cadet First Lieutenant Keith Sebesta. The success of aerospace education was due solely to the efforts and leadership of First Lieutenant Keith Sebesta. The squadron completed an impressive 43 unit activities to include rocket building, RC model demonstrations, cybersecurity, military aircraft, and communication hardware, to name a few. Furthermore, the unit's field trips included National Guard Helicopter Facility, Mankato Air Show, and ATC Control Tower. Cadet Sebesta's efforts have consistently proved superior. Cadet First Lieutenant Keith Sebesta. From the Anoka County Composite Squadron, Cadet First Lieutenant Mikayla Frey. Cadet Frey stands out for her leadership, integrity, and foresight. She worked to reestablish an honor guard, putting together the training schedule and personally directing the focus and goals of the now prestigious unit as the only approved honor guard in the wing. Cadet Frey distinguished herself as a squadron flight commander by serving on both the wing and region competition staff, and served as the Cadet Advisory Council Secretary for the wing. During the 2012 visit of the traveling Vietnam Wall, Cadet Frey directed the placement and scheduling of a cadet honor cordon during the entire event. She consistently excels at every opportunity. Cadet Frey. From the Hutchinson Composite Squadron, Cadet Second Lieutenant Andrew Heisel. Cadet Heisel, a Billy Mitchell Award recipient for his many leadership roles over the past 6 years. He is highly involved in emergency services and has earned his ground team leader rating. He has served as the Black Cat First Sergeant and was an instructor for ground teams. A former squadron cadet commander and now the executive officer, motivating his peers to succeed and helping them to accomplish the task at hand and help them understand their mission. Cadet Heisel. From the Mankato Composite Squadron, Cadet Chief Master Sergeant Tanner D. Johnson. For the past 2 years, Cadet Johnson has played an integral role in promoting and participating in the Cyber Patriot competition. He has shown true leadership for the squadron as the Cadet First Sergeant, and selected for both 14th CTG staff and the 15th CTG staff. His admirable attention to detail and inspirational work ethic make him an example among all of his peers. Cadet Johnson. From the Duluth Squadron, Cadet Tech Sergeant John Fladebo. Cadet Fladebo exemplifies leadership and dedication to the principles of the Air Force. He has demonstrated leadership amongst his peers at every opportunity. During basic encampment, he was selected as the Distinguished Honor Graduate. At the Minnesota Wing Leadership Academy, Non-Commissioned Officer School, he won the distinction of being selected as the Honor Cadet. He then became commander of the Color Guard and brought the team to regionals. Cadet Fladebo constantly seeks out leadership opportunities and looks for ways to excel. Cadet Fladebo. Moving on to Air Force Junior ROTC Awards. Johnson High School, Cadet Nathan Moua. And sitting with Nathan Moua, he said, to pronounce his name correctly, it's like a kiss. Cadet Moua excels in and out of the classroom with the 3.5 GPA, holding positions of both Flight Commander and Flight Sergeant, as well as Color Guard team member. He is enthusiastic and diligent in all of his efforts, and it shows. Cadet Moua. Park High School, Cadet Major Benjamin Miller. Cadet Miller was handpicked to be the Deputy Commander due to superior performance and leadership. His 100% audit enabled the 2012 Air Force Junior ROTC inspection to receive Exceed Standards rating, with the inspector lauding it as top 1% best ever seen. As Creighton Durham Hall's 23rd drill competition leader, Wolfpack captured 3rd place, and Park High secured 2nd place overall. Cadet Miller. Woodbury High. Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Dan Berglund. As Cadet Commander, Cadet Berglund has set new standards for the unit, helping the unit receive an Exceed Standard rating for the unit assessment, as well as a Distinguished Unit with Merit Award. He is a dedicated community service project coordinator, dedicating over 35 community service hours with Feed My Starving Children. Cadet Berglund is unable to receive the award today due to his junior ROTC competition in Fargo. Congratulations to Cadet Berglund. I did not receive someone to pick up that award, but if you would afterwards, we will keep that for you, okay? North High School, Cadet First Lieutenant Jonah Branovsky. Cadet Branovsky is an integral leader in the squadron, currently Joint Color Guard Commander and one of only 5 cadet officers in the squadron. His assistance in developing the squadron goals for 2012-2013 was invaluable. His dedication and enthusiasm in leadership is a great work to our unit and his future. Cadet Branovsky. Moving to Air Force ROTC Awards, University of St. Thomas. Air Force ROTC Detachment 410, Cadet Michael J. Adams. Cadet Adams has demonstrated leadership both in and out of the classroom with a 3.4 plus GPA, captain of the McAllister football and track teams, and commander of the Blaze Precision Saber Drill team. He was selected to lead summer field training as the cadet training assistant due to his success as physical training flight commander, implementing a program which resulted in 20% of the wing earning a perfect 100 on their physical fitness assessment. He takes pride in success and ensures others succeed too. The distinctive accomplishments of Cadet Adams reflect great credit upon himself and Detachment 410. I understand he is going to be a future pilot of our Air Force too. Congratulations. University of Minnesota, Air Force ROTC Detachment 415, Cadet Hallie S. Tietz. Cadet Tietz is Detachment 415's most outstanding cadet of the year. Tietz exemplifies the core values with her leadership style and duty performance. A distinguished graduate at field training, consistently demonstrating outstanding preparation, adaptability, officership qualities, and knowledge far ahead of her peers, receiving a Physical Fitness Award, an Academic Honors Award with Distinction, the Warrior Spirit Award, a Commendation Award, and a promotion to Cadet Wing Group Commander. A truly impressive track record of accomplishments. The distinctive accomplishments of Cadet Tietz reflect great credit upon herself and Detachment 415. Moving to the 133rd, Airman of the Year, Senior Airman Lindsay Longtine. Senior Airman Longtine is the Health Services Journeyman and the Outstanding Airman of the Year. She has always demonstrated stellar customer service to wing members. During in-processing for health assessments, data entry and tracking, resolving medical concerns, training health technicians, and managing medical record information. She was a pivotal point to providing medical assistance and treatment tents during cold zone triage and recognized by the commander as an outstanding performer during evaluation. She excels at everything she pursues, receiving an excellent score on the fitness test and achieving the Dean's List at the University of Minnesota. The distinctive accomplishments of Senior and Longtime reflect great credit upon herself and the United States Air Force. And I believe Senior Master Sergeant Matthew Woods is here. All right, he's going to be accepting the award on her behalf. I'm sorry I didn't mention that.
Always wanted one, never got one. Cover up the name.
NCO of the Year, Tech Sergeant Ashley M. Ingvalson. Tech Sergeant Ingvalson deployed to Al Udeid Air Base, Qatar in support of Operation Enduring Freedom and was singled out by peers and recognized by the Air Mobility Command Inspector General for outstanding performance. Consistently improving and providing superior performance in all of her endeavors to include a project to archive orders, documenting records management, tracking completion of records training, working file plans to ensure compliance, continuity, binder of critical inspection items, and managing wing publications and forms to ensure compliance with Air Force regulations. Her tireless efforts did not go unnoticed as the IG singled her work out and was lauded by the inspector throughout the Air National Guard community, securing her position as Outstanding NCO of the Year. The distinctive accomplishments of Tech Sergeant Ingvalson reflect great credit upon herself and the United States Air Force. Senior NCO of the Year, Senior Master Sergeant Jessica J. Todd. Senior Master Sergeant Todd is receiving Outstanding Senior NCO of the Year award because she was singularly recognized as the, quote, best seen to date by the AMC Inspector General. Her diligent work and vital role for the wing has impacted not only the 133rd, but the community at large by providing data and alternative cost-saving policy proposals and justification for the fiscal year 2012 increase in the state tuition reimbursement annual cap from $10,000 to $12,000. And got the message out by providing program policy briefings for all representatives throughout the wing. Her commitment to training and education was vital for the wing, and as a result became the wing advisor for the Community College of the Air Force. The distinctive accomplishments of Senior Master Sergeant Todd reflect great credit upon herself and the United States Air Force. First Sergeant of the Year, Master Sergeant Ryan M. Fenton. Master Sergeant Fenton serves over 120 personnel of the 133rd Logistics Readiness Squadron. Sergeant Fenton's eagerness, aggressiveness, and innovation is the reason for his selection as First Sergeant of the Year. He exemplifies the core values of the Air Force by sacrificing service before self and volunteering to deploy to Bagram, Afghanistan, and Ali Al-Salim, Kuwait. While there, he coordinated with several different supply functions at other bases, and utilized the inter-theater asset request system to track and obtain vital status of ordered parts needed to make aircraft mission capable. He effectively streamlined processes, allowing maintenance personnel to order and pick up issue requests in a timely and efficient manner, thus ensuring minimal downtime with repairing non-mission capable aircraft. He has internalized these passions and impressively scored 100% on the Air Force fitness test, as well as accomplishing a half Ironman competition. The distinctive accomplishments of Master Sergeant Fenton reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Air Force.
Ooh.
Moving on to the Ironman, right? Is that next? Wow. 934th. Moving right along, Airman of the Year, Senior Airman Jacob M. Rylander. Senior Airman Rylander is 934th Outstanding Airman of the Year. He was selected for U.S. Army Military Police Investigator School and secured the top position in the class with the highest score of 97.7% along with instructor evaluations, noting his leadership and team dedication. He detained civilians at main gate with illegal narcotics, detected and apprehended 2 individuals driving while impaired, assisted Air Force Office of Special Investigations with witness interviews involved alleged felonies, issued 9 citations and discovered 8 unsecured buildings, and represented the 934th Security Forces Squadron at the funeral of ambushed Cold Springs, Minnesota police officer Thomas Decker. Consistently selected and performed above his peers. The distinctive accomplishments of Senior Airman Rylander reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Air Force.
Happy birthday, Rachel. It's an airman thing, I'm sorry.
NCO of the Year, Tech Sergeant David D. Krause. Tech Sergeant Krause is the 934th Outstanding NCO of the Year. He has performed flawlessly. Deployed 130 days to Al Udeid Air Base, Qatar, supported 950 sorties, 2,900 combat flying hours, 3,400 tons of cargo, 2,100 pallets, and 5,800 passengers, 369 medevac missions, and ensured the accountability of 183 pieces of shop stock, trained and mentored airmen for 100% pass rate on 5 quality assurance inspections, saved the Air Force almost $50,000 on repairs, led best repair rate in Southwest Asia, and led his unit to being the best C-130 AMU out of 6. Impressive, to say the least. The distinctive accomplishments of Tech Sergeant Krause reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Air Force. Senior NCO of the Year, Senior Master Sergeant Peter A. DeSanctis. Did I say that right?
You're real close.
Senior Master Sergeant D. was awarded Outstanding Senior NCO of the Year for his dedicated service before self attitude with the noteworthy completion of 3 deployments to the AOR, serving as Flight Chief of the C-130 AMU. On 4 occasions, he sent his airmen safely home in response to medical emergencies within 24 hours. He single-handedly melded 58 technicians, encompassing 9 AFSCs, into a high-performing team, executing a 99.5% mission effectiveness rate, a 100% safety record, and an outstanding 95% QA pass rate. A committed, selfless team leader. The distinctive accomplishments of Senior Master Sergeant D reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Air Force. First Sergeant of the Year, Senior Master Sergeant Donald W. Scott. And I believe Chief Rock will be accepting this on his behalf. Senior Master Sergeant Scott was selected by fellow First Sergeants as the 934th Wing First Sergeant of the Year. He's a trusted enlisted advisor for over 170 maintainers representing 13 diverse career fields and serves the largest enlisted force on the base. He is the first face any and all reservists see. He uncovers the greatness in his troops and has been rewarded for it. Truly the best of leaders, quote, #1 of the elite. Not only is he exalted in the Air Force for these amazing traits, but as a Chicago Police Field Training Officer, he trains new recruits and was chosen as the department's honor guard for National Police Week competition and won 2nd place nationwide. He truly represents his people and develops and ensures great pride wherever he goes. He is a catalyst for greatness. Thank you. The distinctive accomplishments of Senior Master Sergeant Scott reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Air Force. There's always one award nominee that has nomenclature that baffles me, so I just had to throw that out there because I just cannot understand this. But I believe Colonel LeBlanc will be accepting the award on behalf of Captain McDonald. But for those Cyber Patriot guys out there, you'll love this. I don't get it. Captain McDonald was recognized by AFRC A6 for his superb leadership and outstanding performance as acting commander for 7 months. 100% of IA programs in compliance. #1 of 43 units, SDC 3.2 implemented. 98%, 8570 certified, and NOTAM acknowledged, 0 ComSec inspection findings, forged Win7 upgrade and AFNet migration path, championed cyberspace mission systems, 100% passing F2F scores for all unit members, built TTPs for JISCC mission, successfully led comm functions in ORI, ORE, RAV preparations, TBA, and after systems, 100% accountable. This is amazing. I mean, it goes on. So, I'm going to read the last sentence here. This is really something. Insourcing and CSD consolidation and lead planner for new Viking COP EOC C2 tool. Significant technological leap forward. Captain McDonald's efforts reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Air Force. Thank you, Colonel. Yes, man. Amazing. So that concludes the 934th. I want to bring Jane Vale. Are you coming up here, or are you going to just take a picture? Okay. This last one, we're very proud, and I just want to say a few words before. Every year, the Air Force Association is glad and honored to present a Teacher of the Year award. And the teachers in our community, we love to honor them because I don't think they get honored enough. We're very grateful for the service they do for our kids. I have 3 boys. And having boys sit in a classroom is very difficult. So I just appreciate it so much. So let me read this off. Mr. Joshua Kohn? Kohn. Thank you. Mr. Joshua Kohn. Mr. Kohn is a middle school science teacher at Farnsworth Aerospace, pre-K 8 through 8, and exhibits the qualities of an outstanding educator. Mr. Kohn teaches 8th grade earth science as well as elective astronomy and meteorology classes, which are very popular with the students. On certain days, Mr. Kohn dresses as his alter ego, Johnny Volcano, which always indicates an exciting day for the students. Whether dressed in a vibrant polyester 3-piece suit or in flashy lab coat, students become engaged in the subject matter taught by Mr. Kohn. Mr. Kohn uses the newspapers on a weekly basis as well by having his students look for science, medical, and technology articles to put up on a Science in the News, quote, bulletin board in his classroom for all students to see. His students also write summaries once a month for a homework assignment, and he gives students opportunities to earn extra credit by completing additional summaries. Mr. Kohn also uses the newspapers to personally read in order to expand his knowledge of the world and current events, as well as sharing specific articles with students. Mr. Kohn has been active in participating in professional developmental activities, such as attending Space Camp for teachers, National Science Teacher Association, New Science Teacher Academy, and as part of the Farnsworth NASA NSTA IDEA project team. We're extremely grateful to have a teacher like Mr. Kohn, and thank you for your service. So, I think I passed it. We moved pretty quick. Pretty exciting words for all these amazing achievements. I want to kind of wrap up the evening with a few things, and a few special thanks. Vic Severs, thank you, sir. He's done a lot of work for tonight. Glenn Shaw, where are you at? Thank you, sir. Glenn Shaw is our state president and has put in a lot of effort to make this happen. Bob McGonigal, where are you? There he is. Bob, thank you so much. Bob was the one who got all of these awards engraved for us. He's constantly been working with the 934th, the 133rd, all the high schools to get the awards and all the information that I read tonight. So thank you, Bob, for that. And Larry Saxter, where are you at? Larry, okay, fantastic. Okay, for junior OTC award recipients and ROTC award recipients, if you would please come up afterwards and we will distribute checks for you. So if you want that award, come on up. If not, we will donate it. So again, if I would be remiss to say, where's the staff? Thank you to Town and Country Club and the staff here. Was it a good dinner? Again, thanks for everyone coming tonight. Have a good night. Enjoy the evening. Bar's open.
We have to support the local
Oh, you wrote that. You know, he wrote them there. I just put them on paper.
Congratulations on that.
Did you? Seriously, yeah. Congratulations.